If you're interested in the car market or you're considering buying a new car, please wait until after this video and you've done additional research, as we're about to get into a buyer's market once again. Recently, we've been in a seller's market where people have been paying way over MSRP for their new cars, and these cars certainly aren't worth that price. So let's get into why the market's going to be coming down and what the key factors are in determining that the market will be crashing very soon. As some of you might know, car prices have started to come down very slowly, but I don't think that's the end of it. I think we're actually going to see car prices coming down fairly quickly here soon, and that's because inventories are starting to really rack up. As inventories continue to rise, we're going to see dealer markups go away completely, and we're actually going to start seeing incentives come from manufacturers. Man, it's been a long time since we've seen that. But will all of this actually be enough? With the loss of dealer markups and now new incentives on cars to get them pushed through and get inventories down, is that actually going to fix the market and make it good again? I honestly don't believe so. And here's my 6 reasons why I don't see the market getting any better. I actually see it getting worse, even with these tactics from dealerships and manufacturers. Number 1, inventory is really starting to stack up, and not just in used cars, it's in new vehicles as well. If we take a look at Ford and Ram trucks, we're going to see that their inventories have gone up a ton in the last couple of months. For example, Ram currently has a 100-day supply of trucks, while Ford and Chevy have 90 days each. This is a dramatic increase from what we've seen just a few months ago. A couple months ago, we saw 30-day inventories be the norm. Now we're seeing 90 to 100 days being the norm, and that's 3 times as much inventory, which is going to make a huge difference. Number 2, while inventories were at some of their lowest points ever recorded, we saw dealerships adding market adjustments onto these cars, and that made a great payday for these dealerships. They made a lot of money very quickly on a little bit of inventory, but unfortunately, that didn't help the market long term, as these people that got into these new cars with this market adjustment actually have a ton of negative equity in their cars, and it's actually hurting the market overall. They cannot go get a new car because they have so much negative equity in their old car. This is something that's going to hurt the market for a long time to come, but I'll explain that a little bit more in my next couple of points. Hey guys, if you're listening to this video and you're enjoying the content, consider hitting that like button and also subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it. Number 3 is banks, and they're part of the problem in 2 different ways. Number 1, they allow people to get these car loans at crazy high valuations, way above MSRP, and that made no sense. The banks easily could have said to the dealerships, we're not giving out this loan because it's way over the value of the car, and we're not doing that. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not have money to put down on their cars, so they wouldn't have been able to afford these cars. This would have stopped dealerships in their tracks from adding dealer markups on the cars, and that would have changed the market completely. People wouldn't have a ton of negative equity, but the banks and dealerships got greedy and decided that they could charge this amount and that they could get this money for these cars, and they thought the market maybe would last forever. But unfortunately, that's not the way it is. The second way that banks are now ruining the car market is they're doing what they should have done all along, and they're limiting credit to people that don't have good credit, a good paying job, or simply just can't afford the car because of all the negative equity they had previously. This is a huge change in events, as banks previously were giving out loans for way over what the cars were valued. But now, as things have changed and the economy looks to go into a recession, banks are being way more cautious and limiting credit. Again, something they should have been doing from the beginning, but now, since they waited so long to do it, it's going to cause a real hurt in the market. This now brings us to point 4, which is going to tie great into point 5. But point 4 is mainly about the interest rate. And it's not just the banks limiting credit, it's actually the Federal Reserve raising rates from 0% to 5.25% in just a very short amount of time. And this has changed what car payments are going to be. Previously, banks were giving car loans out at 0% interest. This made car payments very affordable for a lot of people. Now, car payments, at least for new cars, are between 4 and 5%. Used cars are even higher than that. People cannot afford the payment they used to be able to afford. And that's the whole plan from the Fed and from the banks. And now we're at point 5, and that is that people cannot afford these new payments because of all the events that have happened in the last 2 years. Number 1, inflation has been absolutely rampant during this time. People can't afford groceries, let alone a new car payment, at even higher interest rates, where their rates have gone up 4-5 times what they previously were. It just doesn't make sense for people to go and get a car when they can't even afford to put food on the table. If you look at this chart, you're going to see that each increase in your interest rate on your car loan is going to raise your payment by about $17. That doesn't sound like a lot, right? But when rates are so high and up so much from that 0% to 5%, that ends up being a lot of money that people simply cannot afford. And that causes people to buy less cars. That makes a lot of supply and no demand. The sixth and final reason that I'm expecting the car market to crash very soon is because of OEMs. They've increased MSRPs dramatically over the last 3 years. Let's take a look at Ram 1500s. In 2020, we're going to see here that their price was just starting around $30,000. And now, just 3 years later, we're going to see that their starting price is right under $40,000. That's an increase of over 31% in 3 years. If that doesn't tell you how crazy the car market's been over the last couple of years, I don't know what else will. So while OEMs are trying to help with the inventory issues, dealerships still don't understand how dire of a situation it is. They're not understanding that their inventory is very high and they're not going to be able to sell that because of the reasons I already stated. It just doesn't make sense for someone to go get a new car right now unless you absolutely have to. I think that could all change very soon though. Overall, there are a lot of factors that's going to end up hurting the car market in the upcoming months. So don't go in unprepared. Make sure you understand what's going on based on what I said in this video. Do some additional research. Understand what you're going to buy and what the normal price is for it. And number 4, if you don't need a car right now, simply don't get it. Try to wait until some of this plays out and you can see where the market's headed. Again, don't go in unprepared. Be prepared, be strong in your negotiations, and don't let the dealerships take advantage of you. Let me know in the comments below if you think car prices are coming down, and if you think there's any other factors that I missed that could contribute to making prices go down even more. If you enjoyed this type of content, make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.